There are a lot of lessons that riding a motorcycle can teach us about life. And I can't think of a time in history where the lessons that riding teaches us are more needed than they are today. It seems like social media, a world of instant gratification, and the constant safety nets that try to protect us from all harm and hurt feelings have created a generation who are soft and constantly offended. Now, I'm not sitting here as some older guy pointing my finger at the younger generation. The younger generation is the fruit of my generation's teachings, so I'm pointing the finger as much at my generation as I am anyone else. The current climate that we live in is one that we can all take partial responsibility in. But there are lessons that riding a motorcycle can teach us both on the road and in life. There is something about riding a motorcycle that helps keep us grounded. It has a way of breaking through the chaos and helps us refocus on the things that matter. Those who ride know what I'm talking about. Riding a motorcycle teaches us lessons that are harder to discover where everything is safe and predictable. The first thing that riding teaches us is that our actions have consequences. So what do I mean by this as it relates to riding a motorcycle? Well, there are direct consequences to the choices that we make while riding motorcycles. Some of those choices that we make have a direct impact on us as riders, are like failing to wear proper protective gear, failing to keep the tires in good shape and properly inflated, riding under the influence of drugs and alcohol, or speeding or letting our emotions get the best of us. I think most MCrider viewers would hear that list of riding hazards and think that those things don't really apply to me because I don't do those. But there are those who ride and don't respect the motorcycle, and they will eventually reap what they sow. I hear from riders all the time that I never wear a helmet and I've been riding for 10 years with no problems. Until that car pulls out in front of you, or something as simple as gravel in the corner catches you off guard. Or maybe, I don't know when the last time I checked the tire pressure on my motorcycle. I had a guy ride into a training class one time with 13 psi in his tires. Riding with tires in that condition is a recipe for problem. Or I hear this one frequently as well. I don't ride drunk, but there's nothing wrong with having a beer or two and riding home. Just know that every time you do that, you're riding at less than your best, and all it takes is one incident to change a lot of things in your life. Because eventually the bill comes due. Eventually the rider learns an important lesson and they decide not to do that again. Sometimes we can learn that lessons from watching a video like this. Sometimes we learn what not to do from the mistake of a friend or a fellow rider. Sometimes we learn what not to do and pay for it with our own flesh and blood or possessions. But sometimes we don't get a second chance to make that mistake again in life and on motorcycles. In the end, motorcycling is there to show us where the limits are and encourage us to live within the limits that good motorcycling teaches us. I used to work with troubled kids and adolescents who basically raised themselves because of the home environment that they were born into. I can't think of a more desperate human being than the one that doesn't understand or know where the limits of life are. There's something ingrained in us that wants to know and understand the boundaries of life. Peace and happiness are not found in the extremes of life. That eventually brings destruction. Peace and happiness are found by being content and living within the boundaries of life. You know, another great thing that riding a motorcycle teaches us is that growth comes by falling down. I've learned far more from my failures than I ever have from my success. And if you're not failing sometimes, you're probably not trying. One thing that new riders need to learn is that there's no shame in dropping your motorcycle. And I've dropped motorcycles more time than I can count practicing slow speed skills on a parking lot. Have you ever watched a police skills competition and police riders moving in and out of the cones on a large Harley or large touring motorcycle? The truth is that they got to that level the same way you would, by dropping their motorcycle, getting up and trying again. Here's me practicing on a parking lot, and a lot of riders see that and think I have a lot of skill. Truth is, those skills came from practice. And an experienced rider understands that dropping a motorcycle at slow speed on a parking lot carries a lot less risk than dropping at road speed on the street. So we practice. We practice a lot. That's why I created the field guide. It has training exercises that you need to improve your skills on a parking lot. But there's always the chance that you'll drop your motorcycle when you're learning. It's always preferable to drop your motorcycle at slow speed in a parking lot than to drop your motorcycle at road speed in traffic. Failure is not dropping your motorcycle in practice. Failure is failing to practice. Not everyone needs to whip a motorcycle through tight U-turns on a cone course or compete at the highest levels in a skills competition, but you do need to be able to perform some basic evasive maneuvers and to be able to do that without thinking. That's what the field guide is for. But with practice comes drops, and with drops comes growth, so don't be discouraged by the setbacks, but grow from it. Another big lesson that riding teaches us is to look where we want to go. Why is that simple technique so easy to understand but so hard to practice? On a motorcycle, if you're running wide in a corner, one of the most important things you can do is look further through the corner. Look where you want to go. If there's something in the road and you need to swerve around it, don't stare at the object, you'll hit it. Look where you want to go. On motorcycles, we're faced with constant obstacles and potential hazards. If all we ever do is stare and fixate on the problems, we're doomed to hit them. In life, we're faced with constant obstacles and potential hazards. If all we ever do is stare and fixate on the problems, we're doomed to hit them. And if all we ever do is look for problems in life, we're doomed to find them. We need to learn the lessons from riding a motorcycle and apply it to our life. Look where we want to go. The problem is that many people face in life is they don't know where to look. So let me leave you this week with a bit of wisdom. Let us also lay aside every weight and sin which clings so closely, and let us run with endurance the race that is set before us, looking to Jesus, the founder and perfecter of our faith, who for the joy that was set before him endured the cross, despising the shame, and is seated at the right hand of the throne of God. If you're wandering through life and you don't know where to look, I can't think of a better place to start than there. Till next week, guys, it's Kevin with MCrider, and I'll see you on the road.